Hello there. What is going on, everyone? Today I'm asking the question, is Armada broken, or has it become more or less a game of rock, scissors, paper? I feel like Rapid Reinforcements 2 has given us a lot to talk about, and it is, at least in its earlier stages, I mean, it's still relatively new, it's definitely pushing the game to a state of hard counters more so than it has been, and that's going to be the subject of today's video. If you guys are new here to the channel, we are still doing the big Star Wars Shatterpoint $165 Amazon gift card giveaway for a core set for Star Wars Shatterpoint. That's running till the beginning of June. All you have to do to enter to win that is be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my videos. I want to hear your big spicy hot takes on Rapid Reinforcements 2. Also, there is a big sale coming up. You guys may have seen me talk about Luxury Playstyle. They are, of course, sponsoring this video, but they've been a longtime sponsor of the channel. They've got amazing full metal tokens compatible with Legion and X-Wing, and they even have tokens for other games, but all their Star Wars tokens are going to be on sale. If you use code Crabbok VIP, you're going to save not just 15%, you're going to save 20%. This is for May the 4th. And also the Friday after on May the 5th. So it's like their May the 4th be with you sale. So definitely head over to luxuryplaystyle.com if you're interested in getting some amazing full metal tokens for games like X-Wing and Legion. They're Star Wars tokens specifically. They're upping the discount on that code Crabbok VIP from 15 to 20% for those days only. Great way to get some early presents in, treat yourself, maybe get some Mother's Day gift if maybe your mom plays Legion or X-Wing or something like that, or maybe you're just hoping she's going to give it back to you. It'd be hey, happy Mother's Day, Mom. I'll get you some amazing tokens. That'd be a cool thing. She's like, well, it's okay, sweetie, you can play with them, and you're like, win. Yeah, that'd be a cool one. But head over to luxuryplaystyle.com, check them out, and don't forget to use code Crabbok VIP. All right, so Rapid Reinforcements came out too. It's supposed to be a smaller in scale than the previous Rapid Reinforcements, but it actually had more cards. It actually had 8 cards, which was a huge surprise. And still, overall, I'm very pleased with it because it's at least it's something new, and it's a whole lot of stuff. Every faction got at least 2 cards, or got exactly 2 cards, but it wasn't a symmetrical release. We got some, we only got 2 new commanders, Rebels and Republic. So Separatists surprisingly didn't get a new commander. Rebels, don't think they really needed one, but they got one too. Very interesting stuff. And I feel like it's pushed the game towards a little bit of a rock, scissors, paper. You can see in my graphic here, I'm showing Sloane beating Anakin, but Anakin beating Draven, or really everybody, and Draven beating Sloane. Anakin's obviously the all-star of Rapid Reinforcements 2 with his triple taps and double salvos and all this crazy stuff. By the way, Rapid Reinforcements 2 greatly in need of an FAQ and possibly errata. There's a lot of stuff in here that based on how the rules work, we don't know how those cards were actually intended, and so it's really got a lot of people thinking, how is this really supposed to work? So a lot of the community has kind of agreed on certain things, although not everybody in the community agrees on all of these things. Can Matchstick use hyperspace rings, for example? Popular. I think he can, but I also think that that's kind of possibly oppressively broken, but maybe not. I haven't tried a full Matchstick build yet, but I've heard some other folks that have and said, like you just drop him in with those hyperspace rings, and all of a sudden now you've got a whole army of rogues that's like, taking out ships on first turn, especially if you go against a lighter squadron build. All kinds of wild and crazy things like that. Very, very interesting stuff. Anakin is even a bigger surprise. He can throw so much dice out there, and once he gets into medium range, he becomes just so incredibly deadly. The salvos, the way you can build him, and all the salvo cards that are out there, you can be rolling 4 dice as an extra separate attack. That's going to have guaranteed, black double, hit crit damage thrown into that. It's so oppressive, and it's so it's beautiful. It's fun to play with. I don't think it's as fun to play against, but because he doesn't even have to be at close range to do that. He can be at medium range. Now at long range, he's still a little bit weak. So if you can keep all of Anakin's ships to stay at long range the whole game, then maybe he's not so deadly. But yeah, very, very difficult commander to play against. And there's still a lot of early theories on how to deal with them, and I'm sure at really high level play, a lot of expert players will be able to defeat him. But I'm kind of gearing this a lot more towards the mid level play, where I think and even to some degree to high level play, because Anakin is incredibly strong. I think he's going to be as strong as Onagers have been. He's going to be a similar level of popularity, and I feel like Armada was in a place where you had some things that were broken and some things that were kind of like overly strong. Sloane, for example, kind of OP, especially for 24 points, and she's one of the one of the most broken commanders in the game. Onagers, everybody knows they're broken, and other things are broken in the other way. Like victories should be cheaper, interdictors, interdictor combat refit especially should be way cheaper, things like that. So there's definitely like a points adjustment is really needed, and I think that's going to be, we'll come back to it but I think that's absolutely needed. But so you had a little bit of stuff that was kind of broken, especially when you combined Sloane with Onagers. The Sloanager list was one of the most dominant lists in years and has been, hailed as a very much a try-hard list. But I guess one of the things that made it kind of okay is I think a lot of times people just kind of stopped running it because I'm like, okay, well that's the I win button, so let me play something a little bit different. But so people kind of just said, well, this is a really good list, but let's not always run that. Let's just play other stuff because there's tons of other commanders and fleet builds and stuff. So at least in my community, we've seen a lot of people like Onagers hadn't been that common and Sloane hadn't been that common because we all knew how good she was. There was nothing, we didn't really need to prove that to each other. So we started playing other things. And so like the game was still in a pretty good state despite having like one super broken list archetype, right? Because we could just kind of set that aside and be like, okay, we're going to poop in the corner, but we'll enjoy the rest of the room. As weird of an analogy as that is, right? That was Sloane was kind of like the poop in the corner. I love Sloane as a character, but I hate the Sloanager kind of list. So then Rapid Reinforcements 2 comes around, and then you've got Draven, who's designed to counter, assuming the intent is he's designed to counter squadron lists, turning dials in. By the way, he also needs a massive FAQ. Is he turning all dial effects into token effects, or does certain effects that turn tokens into dials, does that, what interpretations of Draven are correct and which ones need to be addressed? It's I think he turns all token effects into dials. So there's vice versa. It means he turns all dial effects into tokens. So there's no way to get around him on those turns. I think that's the whole point of Draven, but maybe I'm wrong. We'll have to see when an FAQ comes out. That's my prediction for Draven. But yeah, so for 2 turns you can shut down somebody's ability to really push out squadrons. There's a little bit of ways around it, and like Rapid Reinforcements 2, like brings some ways around it, with your little Rebel Mando version. Like Rebels have like an answer to if they face a Draven with, oh, hold on, I can like Yavaris through this guy and hit 2 more guys with just a token, and then and all that kind of, and it's cool, but it's weird that like Rapid Reinforcements 2 introduced a Draven problem and also introduced a counter to the Draven problem, but only within the Rebels, which is just interesting. It's almost like, did you think people weren't playing Rebels? I mean, they're a pretty robust faction. So I thought that was interesting. But more so interesting than that is, that he shuts down squadrons, that he's also kind of seen as like a hard counter to Sloane. Because, being able to shut down Sloane for 2 turns, especially with all the activations that they have and how many squadrons they bring, you would only need a moderate squadron presence. Maybe you get by with like 2 or 3 X-wings, and you're just going to shut them down, and then go move on in and blow up some ships. That could be a disaster. That could be really something. But more so than that, Anakin comes around, and of course spending salvo tokens. There's so many ways for Republic to get 2 or even more 2 salvo tokens, at the start of the game, and then more ways to salvo on top of that. salvoing on your turn, attacking 3 times a turn, salvoing for extra dice, possibly double salvoing too, which that may be clarified. Again, Anakin also needs an FAQ to clarify exactly how he's intended to work, but I think the triple tap is how he was intended to work. I'm not sure if double salvo was ever like meant to be permitted during, but as the rules as written, that can work, so that's kind of out there. But Sloane really shuts down Anakin, and so like the way they brought down, the way they kind of brought in, and kind of so does Palpatine Officer for Imperials, to a medium extent. And so I'm kind of okay with where Palpatine Officer is, because first off, he should be, like, it's thematic. Palpatine should be able to beat Anakin, or at least be able to slow him down, right? Like, there should be, like, hey, I don't know if I want to attack the Emperor. I'm Anakin Skywalker, like, I get that. It's like, so it seems thematic, and it's also only against one ship, which, hey, if it's a super Star Destroyer with Palpatine on it, well, that's good. I shouldn't be able to, like, kill your entire fleet in one activation, so like that's fine. but yeah, Anakin is like super strong, and like 1 or 2 turns he can totally win the game, depending on where he is. And so like, I have Anakin in this graphic as countering Draven, which of course he kind of beats everybody. So it's like Anakin kind of beats everybody, but Sloane beats Anakin, but Draven beats Sloane. And so like, which archetype are you going to be? Because you can't really be anybody else, right? Now, obviously that's an exaggeration, because you can play whatever else you want. You don't have to play, as competitively. You can run an Anakin list that's not just 3 Venators. Like there's lots of different ways to run these, and I want them to be able to be run fun. But I feel like they're all hard counters right now. They're kind of hard counters to each other, and I feel like Armada is sort of becoming rock, scissors, paper, and it never was really like that before. There were some counters, like there was a counter to Sloane, like you can play Luminara, who's pretty much a counter to Sloane, kind of shuts her ability down. But she's so incredibly oppressive, I don't really think that having a single hard counter to her is that bad, because she doesn't counter everything else. And if it was just Draven countering Sloane, that might not be so bad, because he wouldn't counter everything else. Although he would certainly shut down squadron builds quite a bit, so he's pretty strong. But Anakin's kind of like the counter to everything else, and so that kind of forces everybody else into like one of these two, like which one are you going to be? In a roundabout way. Not exactly, but I hope you see like my trail of thought, why I feel like it's becoming a lot more rock, scissors, paper. And what I really would prefer is if things were more like soft counters, like hey, this is effective here. Like, I really wish Sloane was just like, hey, I can turn a green token orange, but not completely get rid of a token, right? And stuff like that. Like, I feel like Sloane would be a lot better if she was just exhausting tokens, but not using tokens. That would be a lot better. Or also, if she were more expensive too, like 24 points is way, so she should be 40 points, as good as she is, and as cheap as TIE fighters are. I mean, come on, like she's just too good. Draven, I don't know. Draven needs clarification, and Anakin needs clarification. I think Anakin should be more expensive than he is currently. He's I don't know if when he was designed, if like they didn't realize that ships could get more than one salvo. Like, what if, or you add that you can have only one salvo, like you can't start the game with an additional salvo token or something like that. That might make Anakin a little bit less oppressive. I'm not sure. But there's like soft counters to Anakin, or like in the form of like Emperor Palpatine Officer, and that's cool too. But boy, it's rough. It's really rough. So I don't know. I just kind of wanted to talk about this a little bit. I feel like some people have said that maybe they just made Anakin to increase the sales for Venators, and I was like, that's a hot take if I've heard one. Could be true. I don't know. That's certainly certainly the viability of triple Venator is at an all-time high. But I've already had 3 Venators. I actually was thinking about getting a 4th, because I have 1 painted gray for the Empire, and I was like, maybe I should have 3 that I can have in Republic colors. like I could see that being a thing. And so if that was their goal, that could definitely be a very realistic thing. But then, but I think there's a way to fix this. There's a couple of ways. And the first way is something I mentioned earlier, a points rebalance. We definitely need points rebalanced for Armada. That would, across the board, that would be massively huge. I think there's a lot of things that need to be changed, and one of the first things to be changed is commanders. Second thing that needs to be changed is ships. And then upgrades. There are definitely certain upgrades that need to be looked at and adjusted. I think like things like linked turbolaser towers could possibly use to be looked at a little bit, because they're just so good and they're hard not to take, especially at their price point. But the bigger thing is commanders need to be looked at and revisited, and definitely ships need to be looked at and revisited. But another thing is errata. It's really easy for them to errata things like rapid reinforcements. Rapid reinforcements 2, needs an FAQ, but also needs some errata to clarify things that are kind of written imprecisely as far as the rules are concerned. And of course, I would almost like it. You know how they've done something with Legion for like and they've done this with X-Wing in the past too, where they put out a like an open beta, like, hey, we want the community to play test these and see what you think. I would love it if they would do stuff like this with rapid reinforcements, so that we could all get, because I think AMG keeps their playtest groups fairly small. In most of like the credits pages that I've looked at, usually there's like 4 to 5 people listed, somewhere around there. And I feel like, at least for with something like rapid reinforcements too, if I had designed Anakin Skywalker and I knew that I wanted him to triple tap, but I didn't want him to double salvo, then I might have never tried to test him in a way that might force a double salvo. Or maybe, like, it was clear to me when I was designing him that he couldn't triple tap, that he could just double tap out of the same arc and break that rule. Possibly. Like, but whatever my intent was when I designed him, that was going to influence the way I play tested him. And so when you open things up to like an open play test, you get people who don't understand your design philosophy and are going to try it 6 different ways. Now, that might not totally break it, but it may at least inform you on, like, hey, I need to clarify the ruling or the wording on this a little bit more. And I think that's, like, instead of like once per activation, Anakin could be like once per round. Like, that would be a change that would clarify Anakin a little bit more, But maybe once per activation was intended. Again, we're not entirely clear on that. I think once per activation certainly implies that you can double salvo, but again, it depends on what their vision was when they made him. And that's, and we need a lot more of that for a lot of the rapid reinforcement stuff. Rapid reinforcements 1 was errated very, very quickly after it first came out. There were some changes. I believe Vader in the Defender had a scatter. I know Hera in the X-Wing was changed because her wording was a little ambiguous and allowed you to like double up on her ability depending on when you used it. And so rapid reinforcements 2, should probably get that same treatment. We could probably use some errata on some of the rules too, which leads me to the third thing they could change is just an entire like second edition of Star Wars Armada. I think that would require a lot more playtesters, a lot more of like an open beta, open rules kind of thing. Like, hey, here's what we're going with. Test this out as a community, and because you'd be rewriting a lot of potential rules. And I don't even know if it needs like a whole 2.0, but there are certain rules clarifications that I think would go a long way towards improving the health of Armada, like onagers, maybe changing some of the way that onagers work, maybe make the test bed unique, increase the points costs of onagers for sure. We talked about that with points already. Maybe changing how ignition attacks work, maybe allowing you to salvo ignition attacks if you are in range. I don't see any good reason why ignition attacks shouldn't be salvoed at this point. It just seems like it's kind of a way around stuff. But I think you should be able to salvo ignition attacks if you're within range. It's something to think about. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. This is just kind of my thoughts on where the game is right now, and it's kind of cool. I mean, it's I don't know. Maybe it's a good problem to have. I like that it's kind of shaken up the Armada community. It's certainly given us a lot to talk about, and the optimist in me sees that as a total win. So even though it means there's work to be done, and it's work that I certainly don't mind working on. I certainly don't mind like analyzing it and and play testing and seeing what's broken, what's not broken, and maybe even coming up with interim solutions. Whether that comes in the form of contributing to the discussion on how this card should work, Maybe it comes to as a community in like my Orlando area. Maybe we say, okay, Anakin's broken, let's not use him, or maybe Sloane is broken, let's not use Sloane. As a matter of fact, I think everybody should not use Sloane. But that's just me. All right, guys, I'll talk to you all later. That's going to do it for today's video. I want to thank you all so much for watching. Big thanks to my patrons. You guys are amazing and help make this channel possible. I will talk to you later. May the Force be with you. Live long and prosper. Be excellent to each other. So say we all, party on, dudes, and cowabunga.